This is a podcast from soof.co.uk. Hello, I'm Patrick Downs. This is all about film, whether it be Blu-ray, DVD or streaming. This is Bring the Film. In Wrath of Man, H is a mysterious man who starts working for a cash-moving truck company. He becomes known for using amazing precision and dexterity to neutralise robbers. However, H is actually out for revenge.
So, where'd you work before then?
Orange, Delta, Security, Europe.
Jolly exciting, was it, mate?
Yeah, spectacular.
You ain't much for talking, are you, Mary Poppins?
Oh, no, I can talk. I just don't want to talk to you. Let me buy you a beer. Just make sure you drink it over there.
Directed by Guy Richie, starring Jason Statham, Jeffrey Donovan, Josh Hartnett and Scott Eastwood. And our correspondent Hayley Donaghy caught up with Jason Statham to ask what it was like working with Guy Richie again and how much he enjoyed doing the cast run-throughs before shooting the film.
Things haven't changed over the years. You know, we still have that same sort of on-set madness that he likes. He's a very animated director. There's a lot of messing around. There's a lot of strangling each other. Don't ask why. I think it's partly to do with, our passion for jiu-jitsu. And then, I think what you're referring to is the black box rehearsal. That's an unusual thing. I've never done that before. But, he gets everybody into a room and they just sort of rattle through the dialogue, and it's just a purpose for the producers to figure out how long these scenes are, if they need to cut down the length of them. You don't really learn much as an actor apart from you get to meet some of the other people in the movie. Nice.
Yeah, well, must be nice. I particularly enjoyed Josh Hartnett's character, Boy Sweat Dave. He's great. How much fun is he to work with? What were some of your kind of fondest moments with him?
Josh came quite late to the party. I mean, we were already filming and Josh sort of came in and he was in London and Guy just kind of wrote him into the film. That's the beauty about being an auteur, a writer, director. You can just change what you want at any point in time. So, Josh was written in and it just happened that the character just kind of expanded as we kept filming.
That's great. And I love seeing the team play pool together, that scene. Was there much pool playing off camera? And if there was, I have to ask who won.
No, we was only there for a day and we was just farting around on the tables. So, we're more into chess as a competition. So, yeah, that passes the time when we get really bored and when we should be making a movie.
Wow, and who wins chess?
Well, mostly me, but he would tell you the opposite, no doubt.
And yeah, you filmed here in the UK. What do you particularly enjoy about being back here? Any British things that you miss?
You know what? I started my career there, so I just like the simple sort of small family feel that you get when you're making movies in the UK. I mean, I've done these big Hollywood type films, and they just don't feel the same. The crews are better in the UK. It just feels, like home somehow, because it is.
And I'd love to understand about the on-set dialogue changes that Guy does. So kind of how challenging is that to work with, and then how do you remember those lines? What are your techniques?
I think, most actors prefer to have stuff on paper before they come in the next day. It's gives you a chance to learn the dialogue and understand if you don't like it. But, we weren't really attached to any of the script. It was a very organic process with this movie. When I look back at Lock, Stock, the script was so good, it didn't require any additional sort of thinking. But for this movie, it was more of an internal, it's quite an internal character for me. So there's not a ton of dialogue that I had to get my head around. And a lot of the other sort of throwaway comedic stuff was sort of done on the day. I think Guy likes to work under pressure. I think the more under pressure he is to get something good, the more creative he becomes. So it's part of his new process.
And Hayley Donaghy caught up with Scott Eastwood, who plays Jan, about what it was like working with Guy Richie.
I was a huge fan of his work. In my eyes, one of the greats. So an incredible opportunity to work with him. Working with him, he is a lot of fun. He's very unpredictable. You never know. He keeps you on your toes. But at the same time, he's gracious and he's just a great guy. He's an all-around great dude.
Yeah, I hear he kind of changes the dialogue sort of on set. How kind of challenging is that, and what's kind of your techniques for remembering your lines?
You just roll with it. You figure it out, and you get them, you go and you rehearse them, and you figure out the new deal, and which almost daily it was. But it's great. Like, he knows he's a writer, he's a producer, he's a director. So he wears all these hats. So you know that if he's changing the words and he's changing the scene completely, there's a reason for it, you know? So you just listen and you go and do it, and it'll all work out.
And likewise, Jason Statham, he kind of makes everything seem so calm and effortless. He's amazing. What did you particularly admire and enjoy about working with him?
Well, Jason's the best. It's not my first time working with him. So it's great. It's always fun having a rapport with someone you've worked with before, you respect as a colleague and as a friend. So that's like really just, it's all gravy, you know, when you're with someone who just, it makes it easy like that.
And the kind of stunts and action sequences, is there much physical training or prep for a role like this?
You know, I just stay prepped, stay ready, right? You know, it's like the old saying, preparation meets opportunity, right? So there's no excuses. You just get out there and do it.
I love that. Stay ready. I'm going to try and emulate that. And you filmed here in the UK. So what do you particularly like and enjoy about filming over here? Some of your favorite British things?
I tell you, I love your weather. Weather is so good. It's just, it's mostly about the weather for me. Everything else is amazing too, but mostly the weather.
The food, the weather.
No, the food and the weather, yeah. The fish and chips and the weather.
It doesn't feel right. It was as if he recognized H. Like he saw a dark spirit.
What are you saying?
I don't know what I'm saying. He's not a cop. Doesn't smell like a cop.
But if he's not a cop, what is he?
He's a dark spirit.
Directed by Guy Ritchie, starring Jason Statham, Jeffrey Donovan, Josh Hartnett and Scott Eastwood. And our film correspondent Hayley Donaghy caught up with Guy Ritchie about what inspired him to make this film.
I saw the original French movie about 15 years ago, I think, and I was aware of the fact that no one else had seen it. And it was one of those strange little movies that popped up. And you thought, I found it quite provocative. And by the time the movie had finished, I thought, it'd be quite interesting if I could have a spin on that particular premise. So it sort of gestated there for a while until Jason and I found some time, and then I thought, well, what I could do is I could add this to it, and wouldn't it be interesting if the protagonist had this going on and turned out to be that person. And it was just it became a sort of puzzle in my own mind to resolve. And before I knew it, I sort of thought, I had enough of a new film to make it worth having a stab at.
Absolutely. And Jason, you cast him all those years ago. What did you see in him then, and how much has he changed?
Yeah, it's quite funny because he's sort of really gone on to be sort of movie star, hasn't he, Jason? And, 23 years ago, I don't quite remember quite what he was doing. I mean, Jason's principal job was working on the markets, and those markets sort of were just thinning out at that point. And I don't know if you've ever heard his banter when it comes to sort of market banter, but he's very good at it. But that job was coming to an end. So one way or another, I can't remember how I found him exactly. But he's sort of just gone on. And what he is he's a tremendous work ethic, Jason. So he works very hard, and he's pretty consistent, and he likes to work. So fortunately, he means something at the box office, and fortunately, he's a mate, and fortunately, he was the right person for this job. I don't know who else could have done it, really. I mean, do you think he's the right man for the job?
Oh God, hands down, he's so great. Love him. And Grammy Award-winning artist Post Malone makes a cameo. So this is for radio, actually. So I was wondering, how did he come on board, and how impressed were you?
Yeah, by the way, I was terribly impressed with him. I didn't know who he was, but I'm a victim of my own age there. And I can't remember how he ended up on set, but anyway, he did end up on set. But there were no words for Posty. when he first turned up. He was the most charismatic man in the world. I mean, as it transpires, I've then spoke to a few people about this. They go, oh yeah, he's like the nicest man in the world. He is like the nicest man in the world. So whilst he was on set, we just go, oh, well, why don't you say this and why don't you say that? And honestly, that he charmed his way into, having something to say.
Wrath of Man is available now. And with that, thanks for checking me out on the Bring the Film podcast today. I'm Patrick Downs, and you can keep in touch across Twitter at I'm Patrick Downs, also on Instagram or facebook.com/officialpoptart. And there's also the website soof.co.uk. This is a podcast from soof.co.uk.